Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Uh, this is Baba Fanah here for Conversations in African History. I trust everybody is doing well. It's been an interesting week, needless to say, but I'm glad to have everybody here. As we start our class today, we like to start as we always do with the libations to the ancestors, because we know we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, which is a good thing. They are strong shoulders. And so we're going to start today with our libations to our ancestors. And when we do our libations, we always use water, because water is a conduit of energy. It's a transmission of energy. And it's a way that our ancestors can join us through the energy field, through that sacred space that they come from, the ancestral realm. We use this water and ask that they may join us today. They may strengthen us and bless us with their presence and their insights, and that we can be a tool that is speaking their words for everyone to hear. So we want to start out with our libations, and as we do libations, if you want to join us, simply say Ashe to everything that we say. Ashe just means amen, or it just means I agree with you. And so today we want to first give our ancestors, we want to celebrate our brothers and sisters along the Nile who gave us the gifts of civilization. All the gifts of civilization that have been the foundation for the rest of the world. We say Ashe.
Ashe.
We want to honor our brothers and sisters specifically from the motherland Africa and the west coast of Africa, because it was there that many of us who are here today on the shores of North America, it is from that platform that we came. And I want to say that we came first as travelers to North America, and then we were kidnapped. And I want to honor specifically those who were kidnapped and captured and raped and murdered, that their bones lie in the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, but whose spirit lives inside of us and whose determination to never give up the faith burns inside of us today. So we say Ashe.
Ashe.
We want to honor our ancestors who lived in this vortex of evil called North America, who went through chattel slavery, who went through civil war, who went through Reconstruction, Deconstruction, Jim Crow, segregation, all the evil that could possibly be amassed toward a group of people. Our people went through that. But we have not forgotten you. We have connected to the faith that you have, and we stand on your shoulders and we say Ashe.
Ashe.
To our brothers and sisters throughout the planet who share with us the willingness and the desire to bring about the liberation of African people and to bring the world back into submission to the way of the world that was once a way of peace, that was once a way of joy and happiness. To all of our brothers and sisters throughout the planet who join us in the struggle to change the world from a toxic culture to a holistic culture, we say Ashe.
Ashe.
And to our beautiful Watotos, our beautiful children who are yet to come, we promise you from our hearts and from our spirits and from our minds that we will do everything that we can to build a path that will allow you to be the best that you can be, that will allow you to be all the Creator created you to be. We put forth our lives and we ask that you continue to have faith in us, that when you come there will be a better world for you, and that you will continue to build the world which the world can live in Wakanda. We say Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
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 And for all the brothers and sisters who would like to call upon an ancestor in your life, an ancestor in your personal life, or an ancestor in the struggle of African people who have done good things, this is the time when I would ask that you would just call their name and have them join us today. So I'm going to call a few names and we'll go from there. Sandra Bland, Ashe.
Ashe.
George Floyd,
Ashe.
Ashe. Philando Castile, Ashe. Eric Gardner, Ashe. Ahmaud Arbery, Ashe. Continue calling out the names, Ashe, of those in your family or those that you've known who you wish to have us join us who are in the ancestral realm. Our brother Conrad Worrell. Ashe.
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 Asheo.
Asheo.
So thank you, family, for joining us in the libations and calling upon our ancestors to be with us. It's always a blessing to have them near, have them close to us, and have them connect with us as we go down this path. As we start our class in Conversations in African History, we always like to start out with a couple of chants. First, our chant is Pamoja Tuta Shenda, which means together we shall win, and the response is Uhuru Sasa. So I say Pamoja Tuta Shenda, Uhuru Sasa. Pamoja Tuta Shenda, Uhuru Sasa. Pamoja Tuta Shenda, Uhuru Sasa. Together we shall win, freedom now. And as part of our philosophical and ethical view, we always like to start the class with just continuing to keep in mind that this is our motto in our class. Everything comes from something. Nothing comes from nothing. Everything comes from something. Nothing comes from nothing. And so we are always seeking to get to the root of whatever the issue is that we're dealing with, because it is at the root that we will actually find healing. And from the roots, from our roots, we will grow to be the tree that the Creator designed us and created us to be. So today we are embarking upon the journey of continuing talking about the Nguzo Saba, the principles that we celebrate at Kwanzaa, which are also 7 principles, which we, in the last couple of weeks, we talked about the 7 principles of Ma'at and how they all work together. Well, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, the Nguzo Saba, they also are 7 principles that all work collectively together. And the principle that we are talking about this week is the second principle, Kujichagulia, self-determination. Kujichagulia. Sounds good just to say it. Kujichagulia, self-determination. And self-determination is such an important aspect of who we are, because today we're going to talk about some of the things we've learned from our friends, from our ancient African ones, and we're going to talk about some of the things we've learned from our enemies that will contribute to us understanding Kujichagulia, self-determination, and why we are about the process of being into and dealing with, growing from Kujichagulia, self-determination. Our ancient African ancestors taught us that all things begin with a concept and understanding of the Creator, of nature, and community. It was upon the foundation of those principles of a correct relationship with the Creator, with nature, and with community that the principle of self-determination is based. Because we have to start at the root. And all of us are spectacular because we come from the Creator. And so when we're thinking of self-determination, we first have to recognize who we are. And who we are is an aspect of the Creator of the universe, which is a wonderful thing. I was working with some children last week, and we were doing a meditation, and as we were doing the meditation, I was playing my little chimes and bells. I thought about it. I said, well, you know, as y'all are sitting here relaxing, I want you to just breathe, and I'm going to do this today for class. I want you to just breathe, and you don't have to close your eyes for this meditation. You can keep your eyes open. But the thing I want you to focus in on is the energy that allows your heart to beat. It's the energy that allows your eyes to see. It's the energy that allows your nose to smell. The energy that allows your tongue to taste. The energy that allows your ears to hear. The energy that allows your brain to signal to just your toes or your hand, and faster than the speed of sound, it responds. That energy is the energy of the Creator of the universe that is inside of us, that makes the temple which we call our body operate. And so the first step in self-determination is understanding self and knowing thyself and knowing that we come from the Creator of the universe. Say Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. That's a good thing. The second step in understanding self-determination and understanding ourselves is knowing that we are an aspect and a part of nature. That we are here as a co-creator of the universe, but we are also a part of nature. And that nature is our friend. And we are also responsible for helping nature along the way. Again, we don't want to be part of that toxic culture that's always destroying nature and destroying water and destroying air and polluting and using its wickedness. No, we are a part of nature, and we want to be in the aspect of nature that nature is our friend and our nature considers us a friend, so that we can have a relationship with everything in nature and continue to be spectacular as the Creator has created us to be. And as part of self, we have to understand that we are, and this is for all my melanated friends, we are a part of African people throughout the universe. And this assignment did not come from Baba Fana, before you start getting mad at me. We were assigned by the Creator of the universe to be a part of African people. And through nature, we have learned that in nature, when you are assigned to a certain species, to a certain aspect of nature, it is your responsibility to take care of that. So often I've used the metaphor or the understanding that birds are responsible for what happens to birds. Birds are not responsible for what happens to alligators. Flowers are responsible for what happens to flowers. Flowers are not responsible for what happens to elephants. So you and I, my brothers and sisters, we have been assigned by the Creator through the DNA and the melanin that runs through our existence. We have been assigned to black people, to African people. And as with anything with energy, there's always two sides of that. There's a positive side to that, and there's a negative side to that. The positive side is all the gifts that our African ancestors have brought us, and we have talked about those many times, that live inside of us so that we can build Wakanda as we built it before. On the other side, and everybody can say amen this, working with the blacks is challenging. Working with the blacks is difficult. And it doesn't matter whether you work with the blacks in North America, South America, Europe, China, Africa, Asia. Working with the blacks is a challenge. And it will test all the aspects of your nature that the Creator has given you. It will test your love space, because sometimes it is very difficult to love us. And sometimes we have to love, like I like to say, we have to love from far, far away, because some of us have become so enthralled, ingrained with the Western toxic culture that we cannot love them up close. We have to love them from far, far away. But it's still from love. So the connection that we have to each other is a part of our everyday living. Yes, we are connected. Like it or not, we are connected, but yes, here we go. So we are connected as African people, and it was an assignment given to us by the Creator. Everybody say Ashe and Amen. Ashe. As difficult as this may be to get up our lips, let's say thank you, Creator, for making us melanated and giving us this assignment. But moving right along, self-determination means that for us, we have two struggles. Probably more than two, but I'll just mention two. We have the exterior struggle of the liberation of African people. And so that's why I am committed, and I trust that everybody who is joining us today is also committed to the Pan-Africanist movement, to the liberation of African people anywhere and everywhere. And I take from my brother Martin Luther King the words that he said, if we're not free everywhere, I'm paraphrasing, if we're not free everywhere, we're not free anywhere. Y'all like that? Okay. If we're not free everywhere, we're not free anywhere. And so we are about the liberation of African people everywhere and anywhere that we are. Also, along with the external struggle, we are also involved with the internal struggle. And the internal struggle is us transforming ourselves, renaissancing ourselves, rebirthing ourselves from the toxic culture. And we've talked about that before, the toxic Western culture that permeates the universe, that is based on foul, wickedness, evil, that whole toxic culture. I'm not going to go through all of it. You know it for yourself. Transforming ourselves from the toxic culture to the holistic culture, to the culture that has its foundation with the Creator, with nature, with community, that teaches us our purposes, beauty, harmony, and communion. The culture that is founded on the principles of Ma'at, truth, justice, harmony, order, balance, reciprocity, propriety. That's the culture that we are transforming ourselves to. And we're going to talk about some of that today. But all of that we've talked about, the external and the internal, are what we are dealing with when we talk about Kujichagulia, self-determination. The first lesson that we learned about self-determination is a lesson I got from my beloved founder of the Shrine of the Black Madonna, the founder of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, the founder of the Black Christian Nationalist Movement, who recently celebrated his 102nd birthday, I think over 100 years birthday. And that's Jaramogi Baby Ajiman. And Jaramogi Baby Ajiman, also known as Reverend Albert Clay, wrote two magnificent books that are always worth reading. One is called The Black Messiah, the other is called Black Christian Nationalism. And I'm going to take from the first chapter of Black Christian Nationalism the concept of self-determination. And the first thing in self-determination, and that this is what Jaramogi Baby Ajiman taught us, was you have to deal with the question of authority. Authority. Who are you listening to? Who are you giving your authority to formulate and to create inside yourself your joy, happiness, or lack of joy, or lack of happiness? The first thing is authority. And the authority starts with, you have to determine for yourself who will decide for you what is beautiful. You have to determine. You have to give the authority to yourself to decide what is beautiful, what is lovely, what is good, what is bad. This is your responsibility. This is something you control. Who will you give authority to? Who can you give authority to come into your emotional space? Who do you give authority to come into your feeling space? Who do you give authority to determine what you shall do with your body and what you shall do with your body? Who do you give authority to say what you will mentally formulate as your worldview and what you will not formulate as your worldview? Who in your spiritual understanding will you connect with as your God? These are all aspects of authority. And so for us on this journey, we learn from that, and so we say, as a Kujichagulia moment, self-determination, our authority will be based on the liberation struggle of African people. Our authority will be, if it's good for the liberation of African people, then it's good for us. If it's not good for the liberation of African people, then it's not good for us. If it's good for us in terms of a holistic culture, then it's good. If it ain't connected to the holistic culture, then it ain't good. If we determine through our authority that black skin is good, then black skin is good. Because that's part of our self-determination. Controlling what we think and giving authority to ourselves and giving authority to our people to determine who we are and what we shall be. Self-determination is about authority. Because one of the things that all of us have went through, I raise my hand because I confess to, we've all given authority to the wrong space, to the wrong place, to the wrong set of thinking, and let's be specific, okay? We're at home, so let's talk for real. We've all given our authority to white people, and in that, it serves us no purpose, but we did it. And we still do it consciously and unconsciously, but now that we are aware of it, we can work on it. I'll just give you an example for myself. I used to feel that for a musician to have prominence, they would have to be given a Grammy to show their prominence in the world of music. Fortunately, I was able to grow out of that at an early stage, and I realized, because I love jazz, whether the Grammys recognize John Coltrane, Pharoah Sanders as the greatest musicians, that some of the greatest musicians that walked the planet, is irrelevant. The reality is, as long as we recognize that these brothers and sisters come from us and that we appreciate everything they've brought to the world of music and we honor them, then that's the authority that we go on. So you can use that for yourself. All of us, come on now. All of us have accepted white authority on one level or another, but we're making the transition. We're going through this together. We're collectively moving from white authority to the holistic authority based on who we are. And as we make that step, yes, it is a difficult step because we were raised on white authority as the authority in our lives. Yes, we were. We were raised that what white people say is fashionable is fashionable. We were raised that what white people say is beautiful is beautiful. We were all raised that way. Don't be upset. Don't be mad at yourself. It was just part of the transition that we had to go through. It was actually part of us understanding, being able to tell the rest of the world what not to do, but I'll get into that a little later. But first, authority. Self-determination starts with who you give your authority to. And the external authority is cool, but there's also their internal authority. And here's what I'm saying. You cannot give toxic people, repeat that again, you cannot give toxic people, toxic institutions, toxic societies, you cannot give toxic institutions, society, or people entrance or authority in your world. Let me be specific. If the toxic person comes from your family, can't give them no authority. If the toxic person comes from your neighborhood, you can't give them no authority. If the toxic people come from outer space, you can't give them authority in your world. You have to be about what you're about, the holistic world. And toxic people, and here's how you can identify toxic people, the short, quick way. Anybody who's not touching your spiritual growth, anybody who's not touching the goals and passion that you have to bring about a beautiful world, anybody who's not touching you that, they're from the toxic world. And you gotta stay away from them and don't give them any authority to determine what happens or doesn't happen in your life. Stay away from toxic people. I have a beautiful sweatshirt that was given to me. I'm gonna give a shout out to you, Shakti, who was given to me, who I purchased from Shakti, who is a Reiki healer, and it says, "No toxic people allowed." See no toxic people, hear no toxic people, speak with no toxic people. Leave toxic people alone as much as you can. Now you're gonna be in some circles where you're gonna run into some toxic people, but never give them authority into your world. So leave toxic people alone. Can we all say that? Leave toxic people alone. Okay. So we leaving toxic people alone, and that's part of our self-determination. That's part of our control. That's part of us getting authority over our lives. And it's a very important aspect because most of the, and I hate to break this to you, but I will. Most of the pain that you will suffer, that will be the most intense pain to suffer, will come from those who are close to you, who have adopted or are part of the toxic culture, who have chosen to be exploitive, manipulative, hear those words now, exploitive, manipulative, possessive, or controlling. And those last two are the hardest ones. You can tell people who are trying to exploit. You can see that coming easily. You can tell the people who are trying to manipulate. You can see that coming easily. But the ones that you don't see coming easily are the ones who are trying to possess you, who will give you these false doctrines that somehow when you get into this relationship that they own you. And remember now, think back, remember how for us that own word is slavery. And we have experienced chattel slavery and all forms of slavery, both physical and mental. And we know that slavery talk is that control talk. And understand it comes out of the same toxic philosophy when people talk about I own you, I possess you, you are mine. Come on now, you've heard that. I control you, or I'm going to control you, or want to control you. No, all that's toxic. Let me take a word from our beautiful African ancestors in the spiritual realm who said God is in control, and everything else got to fit into that. Remember we said always have a correct relationship with the Creator. God is in control, and everybody else is supposed to be, if they're moving in the holistic way, seeking to come in tune to God's will. Not the ego, not the individual control. So watch out for people who are talking about controlling you or possessing you. And watch out for people who start talking about that's mine. When you hear those words, mine and me, let your antennas go up because they're starting to come to them that toxic kind of way. Just let your antennas go up. You'll see it and you'll become clear about it. So leaving that toxic culture, whenever you hear anybody coming from that exploitation, manipulation, control, possession, revenge, jealousy, hatred, all those are aspects of the toxic culture. And we don't want no parts of it. Remember, we want to come from our love space. We want to come from things that are good for us. Now, anything that is opposed to beauty, harmony, and communion is our enemy. And anything that is opposed to our correct relationship with community, with nature, and the Creator is our enemy. And so we are clear. That is part of our Kuja Chagalia, that's part of our self-determination. And that's part of the battle we have to go through on the internal level. Because it is a battle. And some days we do better than others. But we'll get there. One of the things I want, that's the enemy over there trying to interrupt us. One of the things I want to talk about self-determination is change. You've heard this before, but I'm going to repeat it again. You have to be the change that you're looking for. Society is based on people. And people, their behavior reflects the society that they are part of. And all societies have a philosophical and ethical agreement, contract of what will be acceptable and not be acceptable. And so it has to start with us. It has to start with us. We have to change all the toxicity inside of us to create the holistic person that we need to be. And we have to change the toxicity outside of us. But you can't do one without the other. You can't be talking about evil that you see on the outside, foul wickedness that you see on the outside, but you're not dealing with the evil and foul and wickedness that is also on the inside of you. My sister Lauryn Hill said it best, and I quote her, "How you gonna win if you ain't right within?" How you gonna win if you ain't right within? And at this point, I'm gonna do something that I don't normally do. I'm gonna share with you some insights from the other side of the fence. Because oftentimes I'm talking about the experiences that we have as African people and the things that we go through, the internal struggles we go through. But I want to make clear something that often is not made clear. Because we're not engrossed in the toxic culture. We're not a part of it. We're not in the elitist group. So we don't see it often. And here's what I want to share with you today. We learn from our friends, but we also learn a great deal from our enemies. And let me say again, our enemies are defined as those of us, our friends are those who are seeking to be about the holistic culture. Our enemies are defined as those who are about the evil, toxic culture. Let me share this with you from an insider viewpoint, because oftentimes we don't understand this. When you look back on slavery, and we'll use that as our context today, we know about all the things that slavery did to hurt us as African people. But one thing we don't often talk about is what does slavery do to the person who is the oppressor? Because understand now, when you get enticed by television and videos and all this stuff to be a part of Western culture, when you get enticed by movies, they're enticing you to be part of a culture, to be part of a society. That even though if you can't join on the highest level, they want you to join on any level you can. But let's unpack that for a minute. Let's talk about what oppression does to the oppressor. And here's what I want you to understand. You cannot be about wickedness and think that wickedness is going to bring you happiness. What I'm sharing with you, and this is inside information, when you're about wickedness, when your mindset is about wicked, evil, foul, toxic culture things, because your mindset is about that, your spirit is about that, and also your heart chakra, for all my brothers and sisters who know about chakras, is shut down. Understand that whenever you are going against nature, whenever you are going against the Creator's system that was put inside of you, the chakra system that we've talked about before, and you can check it out for yourself. There's 7 chakras, but specifically we're going to talk about the heart chakra, the ability to feel joy and love. When you are connected to the evil, toxic, foul system, it shuts down your heart chakra. So understand what I'm saying, because we don't often talk about the oppressor does not experience love. The oppressor experiences what may appear on the outside as having a good time.